What is up everyone, Dan here, and today we're going to be doing my review for Blindspot Season 2. Now, of course, if you haven't seen the first season of Blindspot, I have done a review for I have done a review for the first season of Blindspot on my channel, so if you haven't watched that video, then go ahead and click the link for it in the description, and then come back to this video so you can get caught up for what happened during Season 1, because I am going to quickly put it out there will be some spoilers for what happened during Season 1, and there may be some mild spoilers for Season 2, but it will only be from like the first few episodes of this season, so don't worry to anybody who hasn't watched the full season. I'm only probably going to spoil like the first maybe episode or two. That's about it. So some mild spoilers for Season 2, but not the whole season, so if you haven't watched it all, you're free to watch the video. So Blindspot Season 2, I was very, very interested in seeing. Of course, everyone knows my thoughts on the first season. I thought it was good. Nothing amazing, but I was definitely interested to see what NBC would do with the second season, especially with the things I really wanted them to improve upon, that of course I highlighted in my review of Season 1. So yeah, Season 2 definitely had my interest, and even though it originally started off semi-promising, at the end of the day, I have to be honest, I was disappointed with how the second season turned out, for me personally. The story of the season picks up about 3 months after the end of Season 1. Jane is being held up in a CIA black site. She's being tortured for information regarding to Sandstorm and what Shepard has planned against the US, because of course Jane used to work for Sandstorm before she obviously got amnesia and joined the FBI. However, she ends up escaping, and through circumstances, she ends up being re-recruited by the FBI to help take down Shepard and stop Sandstorm's plans, when it turns out that their supposed phases of taking over the government are coming into motion. Jane also has to try and jumble this with the return of Roman, a mysterious figure who turns out to actually be her brother, and learning more about her past and upbringing, which eventually leads her to meeting Shepard face to face, as Roman in turn works for Sandstorm, and she ends up performing operations for Sandstorm to get Shepard's trust so that she can gain intel on what Sandstorm is planning, while also working at the FBI. The biggest positive I could give this season was Roman. I thought by far he was the best new character that was added. I thought Luke Mitchell did a very good job with the character. He's a very, very complicated character. You don't know exactly what his aims are at first, but by the mid-season finale, you really do get a good understanding of his personality and what his relationship is like with Jane and how it's evolved over the years. It was really cool to see that, and I just thought he was by far the most interesting and well-written character on the show, and every time he wasn't on screen, you just wanted to see more of him, which I hope we do see more of him in Season 3, but if we don't, I was happy with the arc that he went on this season. I thought the action this season was also very good, just as good, maybe slightly better than Season 1's. I thought the fight choreography at times was very, very impressive, especially with some of the fight sequences with Jane. I thought they were very well executed and very well directed. And the standout episodes for me this season were probably the premiere, the mid-season finale, and the penultimate episode. The penultimate episode in itself is probably the best episode of Blindspot for me personally. It was just so well done with its enclosed atmosphere, and it was just a very tense episode, but it really was just such a memorable episode, and it had me on the edge of my seat the whole time watching it, and it was just so great. In fact, I would have actually preferred that episode to have been the finale for this season, because it did feel a bit more fitting than the finale we ended up getting. Speaking of negatives, let's talk about the negatives that I did have with this season, and unfortunately, there are quite a few that I do have. The biggest problem I had with the season as a whole was Shepard. I thought she was a very weak and underdeveloped villain the whole season, especially since she was so hyped up during the first season of the show. Then to ultimately get a villain who doesn't really have a whole lot of rising or a clear motive until like the last 5 episodes of the season. I don't blame Michelle Hurd, as I think she's a great actress and I've seen her do other stuff, but I don't think the writing for her character really did help. And it was just a shame that such a good actress was just given so little to do, considering she was supposed to be the big villain for the whole season. Her plan just didn't really make a whole lot of sense, or just have you interested, and it was very hard to follow. I only really fully understood what her plan was by probably about 3 episodes from the end of this season, which isn't supposed to be good when the villain's plan needs to be explained clearly to the audience, so that they can follow it while also having a sense of mystery. I thought that the one-off villains this season as well were all extremely forgettable. They just didn't really I just can't name a single one of them because they were that boring. I mean, sure, wow, Ronda Rousey turns up for one episode. Is her character memorable in the slightest? No, I don't even remember her name. That shows how much I care about her. The only reoccurring villain other than Shepard throughout the whole season that was actually good was Rich.com. And that was because he was in the first season and he was the only villain that had a cool personality and was well written. In fact, I want to see a season with him as the main villain or him working with the FBI because he's a great character. He's the only villain that Blindspot has that is actually good. It's a shame they can't create more villains in that vein that are just as memorable and just as witty as him. I thought the pacing as well of this season was just very, very inconsistent. And the episode structures, they just, I don't know, there was something about them that just made it a bit sloppy for me personally. Whereas in Season 1 you had a row of average episodes and then you would have a row of good episodes. In Season 2, it literally feels like one episode is good, one episode is okay, one episode is great, one episode is good, and it's constantly just mixed. I couldn't remember 2 episodes back to back that were of the same quality, and as a result, it just added an element of unpredictability going into the episodes, and not the sort of unpredictability that you really want when watching a TV show episode, because I honestly didn't know whether the episode would be good or bad. I just knew it wouldn't be the same as the one beforehand. And also, for the last of my criticisms, would probably be the finale. I didn't think it was an awful episode, but I didn't think it was a great finale, if you understand what I mean. I just felt like it was just a bit underwhelming, just the plan in itself, you know, of what the you know, Shepard's plan of Phase 2 coming into effect. I felt like it was a bit disappointing, and just the way it ended, I just didn't feel very satisfied with how the season ended. And like I said in my positives, I would have much rather have had episode 21 being the ending to this season, because the episode just felt like it had more of an impact on me, and I think it would have gotten me a lot more excited. And also the last 3 minutes of the finale are just a complete mindfuck. It throws all sense of realism and logic that the show has tried to build over these first 2 seasons out of the window completely, and it has me intrigued but at the same time very worried for the 3rd season and what direction it's going to go in. Overall, I think Season 2 of Blindspot was definitely disappointing. It's not awful, and it's not great either. I think it's just average. An average season of a show, and especially since Season 1 had so much promise and areas for improvement, I was just a bit let down by the fact that Season 2 really just didn't improve on the elements that I really wanted it to do so over Season 1. And so for that reason, I'm going to give Season 2 of Blindspot the rating of a 6.5 out of 10. Thank you all for watching my review of Blindspot Season 2. Let me know what you thought of the season in the comment section below. And with that being said, I'd like to thank you all very much for watching the video, and I hope to see you again next time.